the We Wreck Records podcast.
The visual identity of all of our favorite bands. You know, the Misfits skull, you know, the Black Flag bars. We were just like, we need to bring that back. It's all about the feeling that it invokes. That's the whole theme we wanted to touch on throughout the whole record. It was just like, we all felt fucked up. You're not alone. Other people feel this. I want you to cry while you're moshing.
Kind of sums up Converge in a lot of ways.
I want you to cry while you're moshing. Musicianship, that's an added bonus. I couldn't explain time signatures. I would be like, it's like this, you know, and he would be like, and then he would do it. I'd be like, yeah, that. Kurt, you know, knows that stuff.
I was really struck by the difference in personality between you and Kurt. Was there like a personality clash? You seem very different.
Oh, yeah. We love each other. We both have the same silly, idiotic sense of humor. I mean, he influenced me a lot. You know, I learned a lot. I still learn from playing with Kurt.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to We Wreck Records, a New Noise Magazine podcast. We're here with Nate from Converge to discuss Jane Doe, and we're going to touch upon the festival coming up, Saddest Day. But I just want to say Jane Doe has become Converge's most iconic record between the imagery, the front cover. Honestly, to me, as like an old hardcore dude, I feel like, you know, the Bad Brains self-titled and, you know, Black Flag's Damaged and even the Minor Threat LP, you know, it has that sort of similar thing. When you look at it, you know what it is, and it's iconic. It actually ended up being the subject, this record, of a class at Berklee School of Music in Boston, where the band is from, which is crazy. For me, my perspective, I was an old Converge fan, and I remember seeing the band before Jane Doe. The band that we once heard that had like Slayer riffs, we're now hearing stuff like there's Jesus Lizard shit happening, some Born Against, some Swans, and it really changed the game for heavy music and influenced, I would say, hundreds, maybe thousands of bands that came after that. So we're here to talk about that record. Nate, thanks for joining us. What's going on, man?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
I just love it how it's chaos and then it's cohesion. It's like horribly violent, but like the lyrics are like a love letter and the vocals are like rah. And I really like that contrast, and I think it's an album you can show someone who doesn't know or understand this music, and you can kind of ease them into it, kind of thing. And it, you know,
that's a hard easing of
it. Yeah, like it's rough. Like it's like putting them in a roller coaster car and just going, buddy, get on board. Like,
yeah. So I mean, it's definitely gonna. It's like throwing everything out on the table. You're either gonna hate this or you're gonna love it, or be extremely confused by it. And that's all. I mean, that's how we operate. That's how we've always operated.
As chaotic as it seems, right? Like to an average listener, like you got to remember, like this early stuff was a little bit more kind of just like, I don't know if you agree, Nate, but like when I put on Jane Doe, it felt like some of the songs were a little bit more straightforward on at least some of the tracks than the earlier versions of what Converge was at that time. So it was almost like, you know, a little less mathy once in a while. And I think that's what brought in a lot of more, you know, it brought in a bigger audience, you know, whatever that means. It really did, you know.
I could see that. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, that 90s noisy metallic hardcore genre, it kind of like a trademark of it was just piling a bunch of riffs together and, you know, and not really having any cohesion in the songs. And Jane Doe, I mean, there are elements of that present on Jane Doe, but we definitely wanted to focus more on writing better songs on that record.
Yeah.
This show is proudly presented by DistroKid, and we have a special deal for all the musicians out there looking to release their new music fast. DistroKid helps over 2 million musicians around the world release on all major music streaming platforms and YouTube. You keep 100% of your earnings, consult a huge range of features, and if you like this show, support this show by taking advantage of this incredible offer, 30% off your first year with DistroKid. Just head to distrokid.com/VIP/WeWreckRecords. This show is presented by Grillo's Pickles. Grillo's Pickles make the freshest, crunchiest, most delicious pickles. And even if you're not a pickle fan, you should try Grillo's today. Why not? Live a little. You can find them in the refrigerated section of your local grocery store, so chill out and eat a pickle. This month's episodes of We Rec Records are brought to you by Earpiece, the high-fidelity earplug brand designed to enhance your experience of live music. Their lightweight, triple-patented design basically conforms to the natural shape of your ear canal, which is awesome. And it's the closest thing to custom-molded without the price tag, or the chronic fear that you're going to lose them. Your future self who wants to listen to live music when you're old will thank you. For 15% off your next pair of earplugs, head to earpiece.com/pages/WWR podcast. We'll put the link in the description. Definitely suss it out. Especially like with you and Ben, like you bass, Ben drums, like joining the party, and you are still together as that four-piece 25 years later. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild. Like that's a quarter century. That's rare. Like there's often like like musical chairs, especially in this kind of genre. So did you
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked by it, to be honest.
When you started, did you kind of feel that right away? Like did you guys like, and were you briefed on like when you kind of joined the band on what kind of band it was and all those like expectations? Or
Well, I knew Converge since very close to their inception. We were friends pretty early on. My previous bands had toured with Converge. Like, we were good friends. So my entrance into the band was right when Forever Comes Crashing was released. I did the tour for that record, and it was just because Concubine was taking off and Steve couldn't do it. And so they needed somebody to play bass, and I said, sure, I'll do it. Yeah. And I didn't know how to play bass or own a bass. But I was like, yeah, no worries, I got you. But I was familiar, and we were part of this, the same sort of musical community, and it was pretty easy for me to jump into. I was also a fan, and because I was friends with all of them, I kind of knew everybody well enough that when I did become a member of the band and we started writing music, like I had my ideas of what everybody's weaknesses were, and including my own. And I knew everybody well enough that, like, we all knew each other well enough that none of us felt weird about giving criticism, which, I feel like that's one of the hardest things in a band, is being critical and not getting personally offended by it or feeling like you're going to hurt someone's feelings. And so sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid off and just say, I don't like that. I think what you're doing is wrong. I always felt, leading up to me joining Converge, like, I really loved Converge, and I really loved all of Kurt's side projects. He had this band called the Huguenots, and their demo is still one of my favorite demos of that time period. And I remember he gave it to me. I think it was on the Jesuit Converge tour. And I remember listening to it and being like, dude, why aren't you writing riffs like this for Converge? And he was just like, oh, this wouldn't work in Converge. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, it would. These riffs are great. Like, I mean, this demo is great. It's cool. You should definitely keep playing in this band because it's fun. But, like, why aren't you doing this? Like, this with the more metallic stuff that you do would be, it's undeniably good, And I think, I don't know, I feel like he listened to
yeah,
that
no, for sure. Yeah.
And so I had recorded some other stuff with them before Jane Doe. Like, I recorded the split with Agoraphobic Nosebleed and the split with Hellchild. So I had done a little bit of writing, and just going into Jane Doe, I think we all were just of the mindset that we wanted it to be something different than what we had done. And so, going back to your original question. Like the earlier stuff was chaotic and kind of crazy, but it was almost like chaotic and crazy for the sake of being chaotic and crazy.
Right.
Whereas Jane, I think the stuff just was chaotic and crazy because, like, sonically, that's just the style of riffs we were writing, but they were more cohesive song structures.
It's more like a movie.
Yeah, that was like 15 minutes to give you a 30-second answer.
Hey,
Sorry.
man.
Oh no, I think that was incredibly well described. I think that's
Yeah.
that's what people need to know about that. It's a fascinating record. So I feel like Christina, I'm sorry, you had a question. What was that?
Um, I've only like you guys came out. I saw you at a festival download, and you very. I was very thankful you were part of my feminism documentary, which was really fun. But I was
I'm
kind of
glad I got
struck.
to be a part of it.
I was really struck by the difference in personality between you and Kurt. Like you know each other much better, but was there like a personality clash? You seem very different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we love each other. We
Yeah, of
make each
course.
other laugh a lot, even though we seem very different. Like he's much more serious than I am. We both have the same silly, idiotic sense of humor. Um, but he is very, very meticulous and very, you know, um, just very focused on what his goals are. And I fly by the seat of my pants. And I'm like, everything musically for me, everything is about feel. And
Hmm.
so I that was another thing is I had to learn a lot after I joined Converge because like up until then I didn't know how to count time signatures. I didn't know anything about music theory. I didn't know anything of I didn't know anything. I learned how to play by playing along to Ramones records, you know?
Right.
And Kurt, you know, knows that stuff.
He's a
You know,
nerd. He's a big nerd.
we're all big nerds. I mean,
You are big
that's
nerds, yeah.
he just like he like took saxophone in school and like learned all of these things that I never learned, and so that there was I think a lot of our clashes just came from us kind of speaking different languages, and oftentimes we were saying the same thing. I just didn't know how to say it the right way,
Right.
or he didn't get where I was coming from. Like there were discussions we had where like we just I think we were thinking the same things, but we're saying them differently. And like I remember once telling him, like having a conversation, telling Kurt like I thought there was a distinct difference between hard and heavy in music, and he was just like, "What do you mean? It's the same thing." I'm like, "No, Black Sabbath is heavy, but Slayer is hard." Does that make sense?
Yeah, man.
Like
Absolutely.
it's different moods, and so it was a lot of it was just understanding each other's language and like and then kind of creating our own vocabularies.
What
And
did
I
you
mean,
fight
it
on?
wasn't just Kurt and I; it was all of us.
Yeah, what did you fight on? What's the song on Jane that you fought on? Or you disagreed
Oh,
on?
first one that comes to mind is Fault and Fracture.
It's a great tune.
Like immediate, that's the one. And Kurt would probably say the same thing, that would be the main one. Like mostly because, like in my opinion, there are riffs in that song that just don't need to be there. And
Right.
I remember, back to Chris's point, you know, kind of harkening back to the earlier stuff and just that kind of hardcore in general in the 90s. Like I remember when we were writing that song being like, dude, like this is just tacking on riffs for the sake of tacking on riff. Like this, it's just little things here and there, but I would just be like, that doesn't need to be there. It doesn't add anything to the song. It's just being complicated for the sake of being complicated.
Yeah.
And we had big arguments about it, and ultimately we went with his way. But then years later, he has actually he told me, like, yeah, you were right. That you know.
I'd like to,
And I mean,
while we're on
but
this
that's
topic,
not like, oh, I won the argument. It's just like we saw things differently. Like, I think, especially coming off of the Poacher Diaries, the split with Agoraphobic, like, we really leaned into like the trying to be as technical and wild as possible on that, and it didn't really work. Like, there's some good parts on that record, and I think the best songs on that record are the slow, moody songs. But like the fast stuff, I listen to it and I'm just, today I'm like, these are not good songs. And I mean, I think we all knew that, and after the fact, I think we realized, like, that's not really who we are. It's not really our personalities coming out in that. And so I was hyper aware of that when we were writing Jane Doe. I think we all were, and sometimes sometimes you just, when you're writing, you fall in love with something that other people don't fall in love with, and
right.
you got to choose your battles. That's all. Sometimes you just let it.
Yeah.
You let the idea through, or you push your idea through, and then later on you realize, like, that wasn't the best call. But I mean, I don't think Fault and Fracture is a bad song. There's just the one little part that I'm like, why is that
You're
there?
always going to have that. I was going to comment on that just for a second while we're on sort of the dynamics that were happening in the band there. Like, obviously, it's not just you that's entering the band. Ben Koller, the drummer, is entering this situation, who was not on the Agoraphobic Nosebleed split. So you kind of came in at two different versions of the band. It's very obvious that that there's a difference when he shows up. So, like, where does, in your opinion, where does he kind of fit into that sort of restructuring of the band? Because his drumming was very different from the person that was in the band previous, and I think that was a very refreshing look for you guys as well, and what you added together.
Absolutely. So there were two previous drummers before Ben. Damon, who played on all of the albums up until that point, and then on the Agoraphobic Nosebleed split was my friend John DiGiorgio that I grew up with in Virginia. He's a great drummer. He plays in a band called Mean Jesus right now, and they're pretty awesome. But he, like, I think he was kind of caught in a weird space where he was trying to do an amalgamation of what Damon had done plus what he wanted to do, but he didn't necessarily know what he wanted to do. And, it just wasn't clashing. But then when Ben came into the picture, like, we tried Ben out. He came to the Kurt's old God City studio in Norwood, Mass. And, initially he was just going to fill in for a show. And so we were just like, all right, what song do you want to play? Like, do we need to show you stuff? And he was like, let's play this song. And we were like, okay, let's do it. And boom, like, nailed it, like, better than we'd ever played it since I'd been in the band. And then we're like, all right, what about this one? And, like, he knew every song already because he was a fan. And he was also an incredible drummer. And so we were like, well, okay, this works. This is the guy. When we started writing with him, I mean, even before we started writing with him, because Kurt actually played with him in a project band called Blue Green Heart, which I completely forgot about that until right now. They put out a 7-inch together. But I think Kurt would agree with me on this probably, and probably everybody. Like, I think when Ben joined the band, that was the first time that we ever felt like there was somebody sitting behind the drum set that could just do the crazy ideas that were in our head. Like, it wasn't just like, here's the riff, play something over it. It was like, here's the riff. I'm envisioning this, blah, 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 whatever. And I couldn't explain time signatures. I would be like, it's like this, da, 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 and he would be like, and he would do it. I'd be like, yeah, that. But where you hit the snare drum, hit the ride, and then tom, floor, and then the snare. And he would just be like, I'm like, yeah, like that. How'd you do that? So like, yeah, when Ben joined the band, that was absolutely the turning point. In my opinion, that is when Converge, that everyone knows now, that's when we really became Converge,
Yeah. The artwork. So this was kind of sorry, I don't mean to segue. I'm like, it's a really notable thing. I can't for the life of me remember who I was talking to, but they were kind of talking about how this was the dark ages visually for like hardcore bands. Like the 80s were really fucking awesome, and then later on people developed visual identities, and like like Microsoft Paint came out and everyone was like doing really shit things on computers.
Yes.
And so this is one of the most iconic record covers in this style of music, and it has to play a part in it. I'm not to diminish the music, but in terms of your like catalog, like it plays a role in that. Like and Jake is a really amazing like lyricist and visual things, like he speaks both languages kind of thing. And like I wonder, like, does he just go away and then go, hey, look at this, or does he like talk to you first? And like with this one, like I think that'd be cool if he just rolled in and went, yeah, I did this. But also if he talked to you first.
It's a little bit of both. Like, we don't really give much input usually on artwork. Mostly because I don't think the other three of us care that much. We know that he's going to put a lot. We care. We want the record to look good. But like, well, I mean, we know that he's going to put a lot of time and effort and care into what he's doing, and we trust him. There have been times where we've been like, I don't like that, and then he's changed it, and that's that. In terms of this, right, of Jane Doe, it's funny that you mentioned that, and this kind of goes back to what Chris was saying earlier about visually recognizing specific records in the 80s. Jake and I had like conversations about that. I remember vividly having that conversation with him where we were both just like, the visual identity of all of our favorite bands, like the ones that most influenced us, that like you saw that imagery and you knew what it meant. And instantly, like, the Misfits skull, the Black Flag bars, the I don't know, like
DRI, like the guy,
DRI,
yeah,
exactly, all of that stuff. And so yeah, we were just like, we need to bring that back, not I'm not saying, oh, we changed everything, we didn't, but at least for us, we wanted that. We wanted to, like, I want you to put on this shirt and it has no script on it anywhere, but you know what it is,
right.
And so that was that played a huge role in that record. And I know Jake went into creating the artwork with that in mind.
Yeah.
So
he was like, was it, I read he was going through a breakup and stuff, and like a lot of the lyrics are sad boy stuff. I wonder if like the
I mean, that was the time period. Everybody was a sad boy.
Sad
boy. What did someone tell me? Sad boy mystique. That was the thing. And that,
I mean, what's funny though? I gotta say that, like, that's not a coincidence that like emo kids would listen to Converge just as much as like a guy that was wearing like a Hatebreed jersey, you know, like
Yeah.
it was a
Or
band
a
that
guy
like
wearing a Discordance Axis shirt, like
exactly.
it was,
It was a band for the underground, regardless of like what part of it you were into. You could find
yeah.
something to latch
Well, I mean,
onto.
that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't think that was ever something that we were like, that we have to be this. I
Yeah.
think that just kind of happened naturally because we liked all of those things. And
Yeah.
so we kind of existed in all of those worlds with all of those bands in different ways.
Yeah.
So,
But that like
yeah.
woman, this like image and stuff, like it's like Jane Doe is like a word used for like unidentified dead people. Like there's a part of me that's like it's like the woman that is now dead in your life. That sounds weird.
No, yeah, we never talked that deeply about it.
Yeah.
Honestly, the
Yeah.
name, the way we stumbled on that name is we were on our first European tour, and Jake and I were walking. We were in the UK somewhere, and we were walking, I think, just to find something to eat. And there was a big billboard, and it just said Jane Doe, and it was a billboard about domestic violence, and for I think there was a hotline to call or something, and that was the first time I'd ever heard that term, and
Whoa.
I was just like, that is striking. Like that's just an insane term. I remember thinking, how have I never heard that before?
Mm.
That's
Right.
crazy. But
Yeah.
B, both of us were just like that. Like we just saw it, and it was just big, bold, and it just hit us both really hard.
Mm.
And we were like, that's the album title, dude. That's insane. And like
Wow.
we both were like, yeah, yeah. And then started writing very soon after that. We may have already been writing.
It's worth maybe taking a second here also just to say that like obviously your legacy, and I think we can call it that, a legacy is having a body of, a large body of work over a period of time to celebrate. There's a festival coming up, the Saddest Day. It's happening. Can you just let everyone know that's watching or listening, maybe just some basic info, like where it's happening, the day, all that stuff, maybe some bands that are playing?
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
Jake's curating it, right?
Well, we all are.
You all are. Oh, that's cool. So you get to pick.
Yeah, it's honestly, it was mostly me. Uh, Not to toot my own horn or anything, but so okay. Anyways, we'll get to that. December 13th, Roadrunner in Allston, Massachusetts. Amazing venue, beautiful, sounds incredible, beautiful sight lines everywhere. It's my favorite venue in Boston, and it's our thing. It's us, Touche Amore, Coalesce, Full of Hell, Soul Glow, um, Year of the Knife, The Hope Conspiracy, my current favorite hardcore band, The Stress Positions, um, and our friends Wormwood here from Boston, who are awesome. Uh, and it's just our thing. Like
Sick.
we've played a lot of festivals, and some of them are great, some of them are not great. Um, Very few of them do we feel like any real kinship to the festival and what they're doing, like Roadburn, obviously, or Fire in the Mountains. Those things feel important. But there have been a number of festivals where I'm just sitting there like, it's great to be that weird band that plays a giant rock festival, and maybe we can be the band that we're like Captain Hook, and we can bring some of these kids over to the dark side or whatever. But like, you know, it's rare that you play one of these things that it's just for you,
Yeah.
and like your people, I don't know if I'm wording this correctly. I don't want to sound exclusionary because it's not what I mean. Like, I wanted to do something that was for the fucking weirdos, like that's it. Like it's like a night for the savage weirdos. Just all weird people making weird music. It's all still hardcore. It's all still punk. But, it's not necessarily like any
It's like
other.
left of center. Yeah, right.
That was
Yeah,
the
it's
best.
not like any other hardcore metal festival.
I
And
want to
we
go
just
to
wanted
that.
to do something.
That should be
I
on
want
the
you to come.
that should be on the poster.
Night of the Savage Weirdos.
Night of the Savage Weirdos. That's sick.
That is a good idea. Maybe we'll make a shirt with that.
So
But
that's December 13th at Roadrunner, and
Roadrunner.
tickets are on sale right now. Yeah.
They are.
Okay,
Please come.
Sorry, I don't.
Please share it with us because it's gonna be fucking awesome. And
Yeah,
like every single band that's playing is incredible, and like we picked them, we love them. It's just it's a night for the weirdos. Come be fucking weird with us, please.
I think I'll be there.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll get weird.
You listen to more cool new music than anyone I've met. Like, I feel like you are constantly digesting new music. I think a lot of us are stuck in eras and spots, and like, I really respect that. I think a lot of people aren't open the way you are to that kind of shit. So I'm glad you're picking, because I feel like you're like tuned into what's happening and also have like a history of shit and make stuff.
I try to be. I can't keep ripping off the same 4 records for the rest of my life. I got to steal from other bands too.
Yeah, it's important to steal. Okay, there's a section of this, which is like a track by track, but it's like a little bit about the actual song and then a bit like a weird thing.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah. So just firstly, like, I think it's really funny. The lyrics are really cool, but like I can't understand them. Like
Neither should we.
Like, I've got no idea what he's saying. I have to read the liner notes. Like the last line of the album, lost in you like Saturday nights, searching the streets with bedroom eyes, just waiting to be saved. Run on, girl, run on. That's dope. Can I understand it? No. But he's like, but it doesn't matter. And it's like, do you feel like if you can't hear the lyrics, do you feel like there's more responsibility as a musician to like convey stuff, or is that you guys are in hardcore, like this might be a really stupid outsider question.
No, it's not a stupid question. I think that just the overall, for me in punk and hardcore, musicianship that's an added bonus. Like I'm serious. Like, for me, it's like I said earlier, it's all about the feeling that it invokes.
It's about feelings. Okay, well, the first tune, okay, I just went on a fucking side note and sorry I sweared. Concubine, I feel like the first song of an album is all about setting the feeling. Like,
yeah,
how you want people to feel, or how did you feel, or feel, go.
For that song in particular,
we're gonna do a little track by track.
Yeah, and in general.
I think so I should preface all of this by saying I thought that all the songs were really good, but I didn't necessarily know if they fit together, because that was the first full-length album I ever wrote and recorded on. Okay. So stylistically there are a lot of differences between songs, and so I remember having all of it and just listening and being like, does this work? I don't know if this works. But that was just me overthinking it. So I think there was never any discussion about whether or not Concubine was going to be the opener. I think we all were like, that's the one. Like,
it's definitely like an obvious opener.
Yeah, and it's just like a complete assault right away, and I think that's what we wanted.
It is
for numerous reasons. I think one of the major ones being, I think in a lot of ways we wanted to sort of say, this is a new thing. This isn't what you think we're supposed to be doing.
I know we have 12 songs to break down, that we're going to attempt to go through, but I wanted to add that, yes, absolutely. Like to me, Concubine, when it comes in, it's familiar only in the sense that, yeah, there's blast beats happening and crazy shit happening, but then in this weird way, and I feel like this record, definitely seems very well thought out, at least from my perspective. Like, you do introduce things on that opening track that are a little bit more straightforward at times that are going to happen eventually. It kind of sets it up in a way. And it makes sure that the old school listener like myself isn't like, whoa, what the fuck am I listening to? Is like, it's not too different when you
Yeah,
put on. It was different though. I remember when I put that on, and the sound quality and the production, the whole thing was very different. And it took me a
it's
minute
very
to like readjust. And then once I got it and it grew on me, I was like, all right, this is dope. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think just like, I mean, I might be projecting right now, but I would say it's a fair assumption that everybody in Converge is probably neurodivergent on some level.
That's
And,
why you're good. That's why you're
and
good. Our
oh,
people are
thanks.
the best at stuff.
Oh, thanks.
Like,
But
yeah.
I, I think that there has always been um, a level of what's the word I'm looking for, of like expectation avoidance, where like
Mm.
people were like, this is what you are, this is what you're categorized as, this is what you do, and oh, that's what fuck you, we don't do that, we do this.
I think it's
And
just
just
simply rebellion. Yeah,
yeah, and
rebellion.
and
Yeah.
like constantly trying to just challenge, like, if I don't know, sometimes it felt like we were challenging our own fans to like us. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
you're
you
right,
like
right,
that?
right.
Well, what about this then? This sucks even more.
It's like Judas
Yeah.
Priest. It's like Judas Priest
Yeah.
when they went all Turbo Lover and shit. Like, go on.
Hey, I love that record. I don't care what anybody
I think
says.
it's awesome. I love
Yeah.
like okay, so okay, we have an average of 2 minutes and 4 seconds per
All
song.
right, let's go. Let's
Let's
Okay,
keep
go.
cool.
going.
Yeah.
Next song.
I'm timing it. Okay, I'll throw it to Chris. Like Fault and Fracture, I love that you fought on it. Yeah, did you have a thought, Chris, on this particular
So,
song?
well, yeah, I did because I think that this is when what they kind of now that Concubine has sort of set up the record and it has elements of what you're about to have. Fault and Fracture feels like, all right, this is like a little bit more straightforward as far as like it's not mathy and crazy. Now we're just rocking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a different version of Converge that we've never seen before at that point in time when that song comes on. It's a surprise. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah. I,
when
I
you,
think
and yeah,
so. I think that's a good example of what I was talking about earlier. I mean, aside from the little arguments that we had, I think it's a good example of what I was talking about earlier, where Kurt had these two different sonic kind of personalities that he didn't never melded all that much. And on that one, I was like, no, put those things together. So it's got like the drive like Jehu, like driving fucking floor tom beat, like in with like jangly chords going into like a technical metal part, and like I I I think that was the first time it really like gelled, where it was like, see, it works. It fucking works,
oh, dude, that's spot on too. Like I didn't even think about that, but like Drive Like Jehu at that time and that whole sort of thing was very much like, the most you could rock out and have dissonance and sort of some kind of like it's like Motorhead, but with like a cool sort of weird angle to it. And I hear that in that song, absolutely. So
Yeah,
that's cool insight. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay, distance and meaning. I wrote some weird stuff. It's the birth of that riff. This feels like the moment it gets you, like you're pulled into a circular motion drain in a good way, like a siren song to your death, like I danced to it on the Titanic.
whoa.
I don't have a question. That was as far as I got. I don't have a question. It's not really
um
that helpful.
so I would say that one is like, that one definitely, we're like, all right, we're gonna dive more into the the weird side of Kurt. Like, I remember hearing him play that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is a new thing I wrote for Huguenots," and I was like, "No, you didn't." Like that is for Converge, dude. And I like that. I was adamant about it. I'm like, that is fucking awesome. We're gonna use it, dude. And like, I feel like it fits perfectly after Fault and Fracture, because Fault and Fracture kind of, it went from like the all out assault of Concubine to these two distinct different styles in Fault and Fracture, to going to the other end of that spectrum. And in 3 songs, it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other with Converge.
Spectrum being the operative word.
Yeah, true.
I'm allowed to say that as
yeah.
a neurodivergent person. It's like,
That's okay.
yeah, I'm allowed. Like, it's fine.
I understand.
You understand?
So I think that was it seemed like the right thing to put in that spot. It's like, I feel like those 3 songs right there, you're like, oh, this is what we're about now.
Yeah.
Right. And it continues that theme where there's the weird parts and the rocking out sort of 4 on the floor thing.
Yeah.
I got to say, if we're moving on, Hell to Pay is my favorite song. My favorite songs on Jane Doe are Jane Doe, the song, and Hell to Pay. And Hell to Pay was when I first heard the record and that song came on. I was like, this is sick. You know what I mean? Like, well, I grew up listening to a lot of grunge. Jesus Lizard was one of the first live bands I saw that was sort of like, and Helmet. But like in this song, I kind of feel like there's a AMREP thing happening. It's very obvious to me. So like, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yes to all of that. I would say, and maybe Kurt would disagree, I would say a really big influence on that would be the Hoover LP.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Kurt was like I mean, we were all way into Discord stuff. Hoover was a big influence on Kurt, for sure. I mean, on all of us, really.
I should let people know what that is too. Hoover was like a Midwest, right? Sort of like indie.
No, they were from.
Yeah, thank you.
They were from DC. They're from Washington.
I'm sorry, they were DC.
Yeah, they were.
But it was
Discord.
that time frame of like Slint and Hoover and like, Christina. These are like weird bands in the '90s that were like kind of like in that like Fugazi sort of world,
This is pretty educational for me because I didn't get into hardcore until later. I used to lived with a singer in a grindcore band who made fun of the metal I listened to and was like, actually, you should listen to this. And I was like, well, look at that. So suburban Australia didn't reach me, but that guy really did. So I like learning from Chris and learning from you, and it's like it's musical education, and that's important.
Well, thanks to that guy, and now we're all here together.
Now we're all here, and the bass line on that song is really dope.
It's great. It's amazing.
It's like, that's your time to shine. You were like, I was like, that's
I did not feel comfortable as a bass player yet at that time, and like I could do it, but I didn't feel like I was really nailing it. And I took a lot of direction from. I mean, Kurt wrote that bass line, and he was like, "Just do this," and I was like, "Okay, I'll do that," and it worked. I mean, he influenced me a lot. I learned a lot. I still learn from playing with Kurt. So
I know we got 2 minutes per song, but it's worth noting too. That's the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first time Converge ever had a song where the bass was sort of like front and center like that. In a more major way, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like, you're probably right. I mean, I think in general, just as far as the players involved, like it was the first time that record was the first time that we all felt comfortable, like just doing that, letting the guitar sit back or letting the drums like lead the whole fucking song. Like, but yeah, like it is interesting, like looking back on that song, how much it influenced the way I ended up playing, ultimately. Like, I still very much play like that. So, Thanks, Kurt.
Yay, good
Yeah.
on Kurt. Good on him.
Yeah.
That iconoclastic human being. Okay, Homewrecker. I feel like it feels like being in the getaway car from a bank robbery.
Yeah, I feel like that too. That's a good one.
That,
It feels
that
like
would
you're like
work.
driving down the highway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's a driving.
So that one, we were listening a lot to that Entombed album, To Ride, Shoot Straight, and Speak the Truth. And I think we were all kind of like falling in love with this, with the idea of like, I don't know, like aggressive metal and punk merging together, like this like finding a way to bring like death metal and the Stooges together.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
I don't necessarily know if we did that, but I feel like Entombed did a fucking great job of it, and maybe we were just ripping them off.
Yeah. Well,
You know, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, there's a
Yeah.
Motorhead aspect to it too, I think too.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good
Yeah. I
call.
mean, like I think that was it. We were just like, let's rock a little, which was not something that we did that, in previously, or that was even something that you really heard in the hardcore scene at that point.
Okay, Broken Vow, a band is like a marriage, and after 25 years, you're kind of like one of those cute old couples, like everyone else broke up and you guys are like those, when you see like those 80-year-old couples that are still together and you're like inspired by it. If there were wedding vows for your band, what would they be? Sorry, that was weird.
Are you gonna get upset about every single fucking thing?
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
How thick is your skin? That would be, the vow is I promise not to get upset and just fucking go with the flow here, even when we're arguing. I mean, that's the thing, is like, even when we're arguing about stuff like that, like songwriting and stuff, I know we all have the same goal. And so, and I know everyone in this band, I trust them and I trust their taste. And so, it's just a matter of sometimes I'm like, no, I trust my taste on this more than yours, and vice versa. And, there have been plenty of times where I've been wrong, and there have been plenty of times where I've been right. All of us have. And so it's whatever.
Yeah. It's like a
But
relationship.
the Broken Vow, I think might be the first song I wrote all the way beginning to end for Converge. Yeah, I think it might be. And I wanted it to be a little more of a punk sounding song. Yeah, there you go.
You're a punk guy.
Like, in my mind, it sounded like Black Flag, but it didn't sound like Black Flag.
Okay, we are banging through this. Chris, Bitter and Then Some. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's like kind of like the first time on the record where you're starting to hear the Slayer riffs kind of come back a little bit, where on Petitioning and Forever Comes Crashing, like lots of Slayer riffs. So now we're hearing that kind of happen again. Worth mentioning that we didn't talk about this too much, but this was the last time they had a record with two guitar players. Because those first two, yeah. So that's Aaron Dalbeck from the hardcore band Bane, also on this, and then you guys moved on to just remain as the four piece. But I don't know if that had any sort of effect on like this particular song, since it does have sort of a Slayer thing going on.
No. I mean, that song, I would say, is like, there's two specific moods in that song. There's the mood of the first half of the song, and then there's a mood for the second half of the song. The first half of the song is Kurt, that's his metal side coming out right there, and he's like, yeah, I'm doing the Slayer riffs. And then I wanted to, my idea was, let's not just go into a normal moshy breakdown. The second half of the song was me wanting to do more of an AM rep thing. So
Yeah, and then
it
it's
was,
also got like a vulnerable sort of feeling. What that second part you're talking about, like almost like a little bit. I don't want to say melodic, but like in a dark sort of melodic, dissonant way. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think I just wanted it to rhythmically be like, just yeah. I was hearing like go into a weird one of the weirder helmet parts or something. Like, let's not just go into a breakdown. Like, and again, it goes back to wanting to bring these different influences into the band more. Like wanting to be like, we're not just this norm. We're not just a hardcore band. Like we
yeah.
lots of things. So let's try lots of different things.
I mean, yeah, we didn't talk about that too much. We can only cover so many topics, but it is worth mentioning that even early Converge stuff, there were a lot of melodic parts that would be in some of those songs. So and when you get into Jane Doe, that doesn't happen as much in that same way. This song probably more than anything on this album has somewhat of a similarity to those moments when you guys had. I know you weren't in those early records, but those melodic parts in those early records. So very cool. And so I know we're moving on. I was
Sorry, I don't
gonna
mean to rush you.
no,
I
No,
know
but
it's
I
you've got
did
to
fine.
want to
go. So yeah,
the next two
intend.
songs I think we can kind of talk about though in like a in one answer because they obviously Phoenix in Flight, Phoenix in Flames. That's sort of an interesting thing to
I
kind of
just
get
I
into.
just
Like,
realized something, dude. I think that you were talking about Heaven in Her Arms, and I was talking about
Yeah, we
Buried
did
Dreams.
skip that. Very
oh
sorry.
no.
I was agreeing. Like I. Okay, it makes me feel like if you spun around in an office chair hard enough to enter a new dimension.
You're right.
Whoa.
We
I'm a
did.
weirdo, dude. Like this is.
But so to your point though, I like, yes, the end of Heaven in Her
Heaven
Arms
and
is like heavy and melodic at the same time. That was the second song that I wrote all the way through for Converge, actually.
Yeah.
And so that again, two different moods. Like the first half, it's still pretty melodic, but that was, I didn't know how to write D beat shit, and I was like trying to do a like a mathy melodic D beat song, and then the end was like, I just want the fucking heaviest mosh riff ever, but I don't want it. I want you to cry while you're moshing.
right. That's you know what? That one statement that you just said kind of sums up Converge in a lot of ways.
I
You
want
know
you
what I
to
mean?
cry while you're moshing.
I got to tell you, I mean, look, I know a lot about the band just because of how long I've been listening to you guys, and it's like, I seen you guys play a Hate Breed set with Jamie Josta, and I've seen you play with Chelsea Wolfe. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
there's so many, there's two different sides to the band, and that statement is just hilarious. So,
That's the title
yeah.
on YouTube. Cry and mosh together. Cry, cry and
Yeah. I mean, not to sidetrack it more, but like, I think that was always the goal of the band. It was like to not just be like, we're a hardcore band, we're crazy, we're angry. Like, we wanted it to be like, it's okay to feel these things.
sadboi.
Let's feel them together. Like, let's do this, all of us in this room. Like, let's
No,
feel this together. You
yeah.
know?
And I don't want to sidetrack too much, but while we did mention that, anyone watching, I highly recommend check out the footage Hate Verge, which is Converge playing a Hate Breed set with Jamie Josta on YouTube. It's phenomenal.
That was a fun thing. That was really fun.
Yeah. So
Okay,
we're moving on
back
to
to
yeah.
the double whammy of Phoenix in Flight and Phoenix in Flames.
Yes.
Don't touch that dial. This is your time to shine, Chris. It always is. It's about you.
Oh,
But I feel
oh.
like it's. I
Well, I
feel like
just
yeah.
wanted to ask. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, um, you know, we were talking earlier about how well thought out the record was. Your track order. I mean, it feels like very well thought out. Obviously, it's not a coincidence that you decided to have these two songs in a row with some common themes there. Do you want to like kind of elaborate on what those two songs mean as they coexist together on the record with the similar titles?
I would, you know, in retrospect, it looks that way. I mean, lyrically, obviously, Jake wanted to put those two things together. But when we were writing, I don't think it was ever like these are the two, they're going to go together. Like, I think
Got
it
it.
just, and we mostly, sorry, we mostly wrote Phoenix in Flames in the studio. Like, I don't even think I heard it until like well after Ben had recorded drums, you know? And I was just
Okay.
like, oh, cool. Am I adding anything to this? No? Yeah, let's just leave it as drums and vocals. Cool. Um, and then I don't think it until that came together, that's when it was like, oh yeah, these two pieces definitely that's where those lyrical concepts belong. And I mean, I think
Awesome.
Jake had figured that out already, but we all were like, yeah, that's the way. Let's do that.
There is an element of old school hardcore, by the way, that I wanted to mention that I hear on the first of the two, Phoenix in Flight, which is cool because in a way that's a cool thing about this record is that not some parts might sound like they could have been another song, but the songs individually, none of these songs sound exactly alike. They all really do stand out. And so, that sort of element of old school hardcore for the first time on this record kind of peaks out once we get to this part of the record, which is super cool. Because I know that's in your guys' DNA, I've seen you talk about SSD control and that kind of stuff in Boston. So, and then, and Christina, I don't know if you had any thoughts, but I was going to move on to Thaw because I had
Okay, all I had was what's your favorite part of this song?
Oh yeah, okay,
so,
good.
so please
Being
elaborate.
done with it.
Being done.
Being done with it.
I mean, I know I love that song.
Yeah.
Recording that was a fucking nightmare. And
We're
like,
talking about Thaw right now, right?
yeah, Thaw. It was recording
Yeah.
that was a nightmare because it like keeping track of everything and counting it is at least back then for me was really difficult. And now I can do it, but when we recorded it, I got very fucking frustrated. And
Yeah, it's a weird one.
it's a
It's
weird
got some
one.
like yeah,
It's a lot going on.
insane
But
kind of
I
vibes.
love them. I love the breakdowns in that song. I like the whole song a lot actually. It's like that one is a really good example of sorry. We good still? Did it
It's still
freeze for a
good.
Yeah,
second?
yeah.
All
No,
right,
we're
cool.
okay.
That's a good example of Kurt's like really technically minded style of composition that like like you can hear like the technical metal influence in it, but he didn't want to go that route with it. He took it in this completely different direction that was like just bizarre. And like that is my favorite shit that he does, where I'm just like, what? Where did that fucking come? That is
Right.
just keep doing that. I don't know what it is, but keep doing it. And yeah.
Michael Gira from Swans, who I would listen to read the phone book. That's one of my favorite things. He was like, we're talking about oiling the channel between wherever music comes from and wherever it goes. And I love that as a concept. Like, because as you get older, I would imagine, things are slipping down like a water slide when before it was like, eh.
Yeah. Like
That does.
There's
Yeah.
nothing to say to that.
yeah. That record for me, probably for all of us, was like it was a big learning experience in that like probably prior to me joining the band, I don't think there was a lot of editing and criticism happening within the writing process, and for Jane there was, and not just coming from me, from all of us. And so I think what felt like harsh criticism at the time in retrospect was, for all of us, in retrospect, really helped us grow quite a bit. And to your point about what you were just saying, like it really helped us learn what to what to go after and what is not worth going after. You know, like when you have an idea that you're working on and you're like, do I like this? I don't know if I like this. Is this a dead end? And, you know, learning how to figure out if it's a dead end or not.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes it turns into something that you never thought it was going to be. And Thaw is one of those songs where it turned into something that I was like, I don't know what this is, but I like it. Keep
Yeah.
going.
That's like a roller coaster, man. That's a crazy one.
Yeah.
I gotta set this one up, Christina.
Yep, no,
I'm gonna,
100. I was
yeah.
about to say, this is, yeah, you do this.
Well, I was just gonna. Well, Jane Doe is like a fucking masterpiece, man. Like this, the song. You know, I know I'm not the first person to say that. It's an unbelievable song. I don't know any other song like that. You know, that shit's fucking crazy. And like, although you were joking about the crying and moshing thing, this is that song because I mean,
Yeah.
it's just fucking it's pissed off and like you know it gets really fucking it gets suicidal to me. Like the way that this song sort of like as an art sort of expression, like if you were looking at it from that perspective, I mean like I feel like I'm hearing a guy that's just fucking pissed off, that's breaking shit, that just had a really fucking bad situation. And then you go from that sort of anger down to this sort of quiet sadness. And by the end of the song, you know, I don't know if you're like driving your car into a wall to kill yourself or what's happening, but it's like it's a very emotional song and it's long. It's insane. I've seen you guys play it
Yeah.
live maybe like a handful of times, but it's always a surprise when it happens. But it's a great song. It's a masterpiece, man.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good summation of it for the most part. Like lyrically, I mean, Jake was in a dark place then. You know, I remember being a little worried about him, not like that he was going to hurt himself or anything, but just, you know, being like, is he going to be the same ever again? Like, am I going to be
Right,
able
right.
to, we going to be able to make fart jokes again? Or like, come on, man. um, is he going to come back from that? And of course he did, obviously. Everybody goes through these shitty periods in our lives. But yeah, like it is. It's this angry, kind of slow moving beast that, you know, comes to this crescendo at the end. That's like, to me, well, you know, where you're talking about, like, am I driving my car off of a cliff or something? Like, to me, that's the coming to the realization that we're gonna be all right, you know,
Right,
like,
right.
and so yeah, I mean, my memories of writing that one, like that was Kurt wrote those riffs, and I remember he he only wanted to do that everything one time. Like he got through the you know, the first repetition of everything, and he was like, "Yeah, that's it." And I was like, "What do you mean that's it? You only did the chorus one time. No way. We got to do that twice." And he's like, "It's going to be like 12 minutes long." I'm like, "Then it's going to be 12 minutes long. You know, it's Stairway to Heaven then, bro. Let's go."
I was
And
gonna say that earlier. It is. It's like that. Yeah.
well, we were all, you know, we were all really kind of starting to dig into all of those classic records, you know, not just Zeppelin and Sabbath, but like really, like I especially was really becoming interested in like, where did all the things that I like come from, you know?
Right.
You know, reading Get in the Van, and then them talking about Rollins talking about all these jazz records that he liked, or like talking about, you know, the Dead and stuff. And I'm like, well, all these things that I have no interest in, these people that I really respect love them, so maybe I need to know about them. And like Zeppelin, you know, you grow up, you know, I'm 50. I
Yeah.
grew up listening to Led Zeppelin on the radio, but that's all I really knew. I never really, and my dad loved Zeppelin, but I never really like dove into it. And like when I did, and I started discovering like, tracks like The Rain Song or like In the Light, Achilles' Last Stand, like stuff like that. I was like, you were like, holy shit, like not only is this band great, but like there is nothing else ever that has sounded like this. And like it takes you to a place sonically and emotionally that nothing else does. And I think we all kind of became obsessed with trying to get to that same place. And like another band that did that for us was Neurosis. And so we were like, we always were like, the way that they're plugged in is the way that I want to be plugged in. Like, I don't want to sound like Neurosis because I can't sound like Neurosis, but like the earnestness and like this deep connection to their music that they obviously felt and you felt when you listened to it, that's what I want. And so
it's a different kind of anger that I feel in this song. Like, the anger you feel when you listen to like a band like Madball or something. You want to kill somebody, right? Like, but like this song, I just want to fucking destroy everything in my house on a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about like going to fight somebody. It's about like, I am pissed off. I'm not happy right now, and I'm gonna go break something. That's sort of the feeling I get from that song.
Well, I mean, I think it's a pretty universal feeling, especially for people in hardcore, and so like that's ultimately like that's the whole theme we wanted to touch on throughout the whole record. It was just like, it's okay, you're not alone. Other people feel this, and like I don't know if we could actually conceptualize that at the time, like that was what we were trying to say, but now in retrospect, I can look back on it and be like, yeah, like we just wanted, we all felt fucked up and like we wanted to not feel alone. And that was it, and then we realized like, you know what? Everybody feels this shit. So come on. Like I said earlier, like feel it with us. Like we're here.
Get
Like
in the van.
It was felt, man, and it worked.
Get in the van, bitches.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know if I can say that. I can. I'm a woman. I'm upset.
You can. I don't know. You can.
I think that's a really good way to close out this. I just want to say this was actually the whole point of the show, is to go into albums that people have a real relationship with and really dissect them and wreck all the mystery around them. And I just really appreciate you telling us the stories and stuff, because I hope it gives people a different, when they listen to it again, they hear it differently. And that
would be great.
I appreciate
I appreciate you. I mean, that's my favorite thing about music. Like you can have these records that you love and you every now and then you put them on and it just feels like, your favorite old sweatshirt or whatever. But like you can listen to them and still find things that like you're like, wow, I never realized that before. I never heard this weird little noise before. Or I just never like, this lyric never resonated with me before and I just got it. And now it makes this hit so much harder. Or, just shit like that. That's what I love about music. And Jane Doe was very much, for all of us, I think we wanted to create that, like we didn't, I don't think Converge had like bad records up till then. They were good records. I don't think necessarily they were like as memorable or felt as emotionally important as Jane Doe. And so like that was it. We just wanted to make a record that like stood the test of time and that you sat with forever. The way that I would sit with those Zeppelin records, or that I would sit with, like those Black Flag records that I grew up with or whatever, like things that I always go back to. And I'm like, yeah, man, this made me who I am.
That is what's up. This is We Wreck Records. This is Chris Enriquez. I'm Christina Rowatt. This is Nate Newton from Converge, obviously. Yeah, Thank you for listening. Go to Saddest Day Festival. Nate picked all the bands,
Right.
so if you've got any problems with them, please complain at the door. And good evening. May the dark forces be with you.
December 13th, get your tickets.
Yes,
Sorry, I had to add that.
December 13th, Roadrunner, be there.